We've just about wrapped up our contract, but before we move over to writing any front end or anything like that, I think we should do one last quick test inside of Remix. I'm going to open the right-hand nav. I'm going to make sure I have JavaScript VM selected. I'll make sure I have deleted any other instances. Then I'll set a minimum contribution of 0 and click on Create. All right, so here's my instance. Of course, the first thing we have to do is to contribute to it. So I'll set a value of 1 ether, and then I will contribute to the campaign. Next, I'm going to try to create a request. And of course, anytime we make a request, we definitely have to get an address of the recipient account. So just like we did previously, I'm going to select another account. I'll copy the address, and then I'll swap back to the manager account. Then I can go down to Create Request. I'll enter in a description as a string, and I'll give myself a little bit of space so you can very clearly see what I'm adding. So I'm going to add on a description of buy batteries. I'll put in a value of just some arbitrary amount, and then as a string, I'll add in the address as well. Make sure you wrap that with quotes. I can then click Create Request, and that should definitely create the request for me. I can confirm that inside my transaction log. Yep, looks good. I'm going to look at my requests at 0. Yep, that looks good. Now we're going to do things out of order here a little bit. Notice that we have an approval count of 0 right now. So if I try to finalize this request at this point, I should definitely see an error message. So I'll enter in finalize request of 0 and click on finalize. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to clear out my log here just so I can see everything that happens very clearly. All right, so correctly, we definitely see an error message, which is exactly what we want. Next, I will attempt to approve the request, and I want to approve the request at index 0. Okay, that looks good. And now, when I attempt to finalize the request again, I should see success, and I should also see that the second account in that listing up top has slightly more ether than it had before. So I'll click Finalize Request. Everything looks good over here now. And if I go back up to the drop-down, I see that the second account has received some additional amount of ether. Cool. So I think the contract is behaving the way we expect. There is one last quick thing I just realized. Let's try finalizing that request one more time. So if I click on Finalize Request again, perfect. We see a nice error message because that thing has already been marked as processed or completed. I think that our contract is now at a really good spot. So let's continue in the next video, and we're going to start taking this contract and putting together some tests for it and writing up the front end application. So quick break, and I'll see you in just a minute.